Hey everyone, Xeno back here for another episode of Mega Man 1. Should be the finale this time, only got a couple stages left. And as I mentioned in the previous video, the third Wily stage is very short, so this should wrap up pretty neatly. I'd say this is the last full-length stage that the game has to offer, and it's quite a strong one. I like the kind of abandoned, somber atmosphere that this stage has. It's pretty fitting. So you might be wondering why I magnet beamed over solid ground, but that's because this is actually not solid ground at all. You will fall straight through. So going against series tradition, or rather something that really started with Mega Man 2, if we're being going in chronological order here, the refights with the Robot Masters exist in this game, but they happen in a kind of odd way where Cutman and Electman are both in this stage, but the other four Robot Masters are in the fourth Wily stage. And to be honest, I'm not really sure why they did it this way, especially like why Cutman and Electman specifically are in this stage, and why is it like a 2 and 4 kind of deal, and why there aren't any in the third stage. I suppose maybe it would conflict with the gimmick, which we'll get to soon enough, but I always found that to be a very peculiar decision. Like, okay, you could have them all in one stage, or you could divide them like somewhat equally. Like Mega Man X kind of does the same thing, X1, where they're in varying stages. Like Boomer Kuwanger, I think, is in the first stage, and then there's a couple in the second. But that at least like makes more sense. It's more equally divided. But I always found this 2 and 4 deal to be very bizarre. All right. I will be trying not to take any damage from Electman, and succeeded with flying colors. Good stuff. The AI for the Robot Masters isn't any different the second time around than it is the first time. The only difference is that the arenas are different. Like, Cutman usually has the Guts blocks in his initial arena, meaning that you actually can't use his weakness against him in the refight, which I think is kind of funny. Not that you need it, because he's pretty easy and takes 3 damage from the Buster, so it's a cinch to beat anyways, but I always found that to be kind of funny. And then Electman has a totally flat arena, as opposed to the initial encounter where he also has Guts blocks there that kind of mess you up. So it's actually probably easier to fight Electman on the flat ground, if I'm being totally honest. I don't really need this, but a man can greed. Why not? One thing I like about the Suzies, or Octopus batteries in this game, is that the weapons do a very good job of handling them. I think they die in one hit to almost... I think to every weapon, actually. Which makes them just fun little targets to take out. Got a little descent here. And then, this is a job for Thunderbeam, no doubt. Thank you. Pick up some energy if you need it. I recommend preserving Firestorm, Rolling Cutter, and or Thunderbeam, if possible. You won't really need much of the other 3 weapons, but these are staples. Thunderbeam just as a general attacking tool, and then the other 2 for boss weaknesses. We're about to need Firestorm for this boss encounter that's about to happen, which I always found these one ladder setups where you fall into the next screen. Like, this just looks a little odd to me. I wish there was like a proper boss gate instead, but you're just kind of tossed straight into the boss here, and this small chasm above you seals up. So here's a pretty classic video game trope, is fighting yourself. And the Copy Robot is funny in a lot of ways, so let's go over some of Copy Robot's interesting quirks. Oh, he's moonwalking. So if you switch to Super Arm, this boss uses your weapons against you. So whatever you have equipped, it will try and use against you. And Super Arm cannot do jack without those blocks, as I mentioned. So Copy Mega Man will just run around here forever, if you let him. Never doing anything. Otherwise, with the other weapons where he can actually shoot, his AI is actually mostly the same as Electman's, where he shoots at specific intervals on the floor. I believe the only difference is that Copy Robot is capable of jumping towards you, or there's something in the jumping behavior that's very slightly different, but for the most part, this is a port of Electman's AI onto a different boss that just fires different projectiles. My recommended weapon for this fight is Firestorm. for a couple different reasons. It's pretty easy to lock him if he's close to using the pause glitch, or use the projectile as I'm doing right now. It works quite well. Obviously, he can get your ass too. But it's relatively easy to get him stuck in a loop if you firestorm him over and over again. And that's a wrap. Pretty fun boss. Again, using the pause glitch is just way too much fun to me. Like, just stun locking everything is so funny to me. It just works too well. It's too entertaining. Here we are at Wily Stage 3, which is this odd-looking sewer area. And I don't really appreciate how the game spawns you right next to a Susie like that, but these initial areas are pretty short. This stage in general is extremely short, and you shouldn't have that much trouble making it through. A lot of self-similar screens with just vertical drops here. And then the stage's main gimmick, which is this rushing water. Genuinely a pretty cool effect, I gotta say. And then just this big, basically empty hallway with enemies spawning. It's not particularly entertaining, I can't lie. But just using Thunder Beam will get you through just fine. Eventually the Pen switch to killer bullets, and these are even easier to dodge because you can really just jump over them as long as you have good timing. So yeah, really entertaining stage, just a long hallway with water in it. And that brings us to the final non-Wily Fortress boss, which is CWU10P, I believe this thing is called. Everybody knows it as the Bubble Boss. My recommendation to you, because this boss becomes unavoidable if you get rid of these guts blocks early on, which is kind of unfair and kind of sucks. I don't, again, think that's a very... Oh. I forgot that this would get rid of the blocks. The pause glitch works less well on this boss than most others, unfortunately. I'm probably about to die here, actually. And I wasted all my firestorm. Let me see if I can clutch this. Okay, nah, actually. I was screwed from the start. Let's try that again. With a little bit of better strategy and more health. As usual, I end up screwing myself over by trying to explain too much. But as you can see, the boss goes around the room in circles, and the guts blocks don't come back once they're destroyed, which is kind of a problem. Yeah, it's really easy to get cornered by this boss, just like I did, because you can't really dodge it properly once the blocks are gone. And I think that's a really dumb decision. Like, even now, you have to struggle to jump over the bubble. So, switch to Super Arm for the last 4, because the game gives you 4 blocks, so save them for these, because they move insanely fast, and are completely undodgeable. Like, if you looked at positionally where I was, there was no way to jump over the bubble anymore, once the blocks are gone. Which I think is a really dumb decision, again, but that's what you're rolling with. Otherwise, a pretty plain boss. I do like that the health bar changes colors, which is a subtle detail. That's pretty cool. This is a really hostile initial screen for a stage, by the way. Just immediately spawning these aliens. Not a very nice trick. But yeah, that third Wily stage, probably the most throwaway stage of the game. Like, it's cool. It was a cool gimmick back in '87 to have, like, rushing water that was kind of realistic, so I'll give him that. It was pretty neat. But, you know, nothing all that. It's not all that, really. Weapon energy does not experience gravity in this game, so you're gonna have to jump up and pick this yourself, which is kind of funny to me, and I don't know why they bothered making this column with blocks. Like, you could have just left it. This hallway is also where we see Wily's infatuation with Gutsman specifically begin. Not sure why he's so attached to this particular design, but yeah, I guess he made like a million different Gutsmen. And the one we fought is just one of many. Not sure if this is supposed to represent, like, that there were many drafts of these Robot Masters, or what exactly the lore is behind this, to be totally transparent, but Gutsman being a recurring obsession of Wily's is a series theme. He's brought back quite more often than many of the other Robot Masters, which I always thought was kind of funny. This item on the right is a Yoshichi, which only appears in this specific room. And it's a very appreciated fill-up from the game, something that I think this game does actually a lot better than Mega Man 2, because it fills your energy up for every weapon, right before the majority of the boss fights. And I think that's really smart and pretty generous of a game, honestly, of this era. So, really smart decision. I like this a lot. I'm just realizing I forgot to give my typical boss ratings for these bosses. Especially for Cutman and Electman, who I already fought. But I guess let's think of some numbers now, while Bombman is dying from the pause glitch. Let's see. Cutman, I'd give, like, maybe a 5 out of 10. I think he's a good introductory boss. Simple pattern, like, really fun to fight, honestly, but his singular attack, being scissors, is a little boring, and just really the fact that he's so easy to push over takes a little bit of the challenge away, but I understand they needed an easy boss for the player to go after to encourage them, so I totally get it. Electman is honestly maybe like a 4. I think he does way too much damage, just unjustifiably. Like, the most erratic boss didn't need to also kill you in 3 hits. I do like the pattern. I do like stun locking him if you shoot at very specific intervals. Like, that is honestly super satisfying to do. Most of these bosses have AI that's really fun to exploit, but actually, like, figuring out and dealing with it as a newcomer is a huge pain in the ass. So I probably have more appreciation for it as a veteran, but I could totally understand new players being super put off by most of these bosses, just because the way they work sometimes is not very clear. Fireman is another actually really good example, because he seems a lot more erratic until you understand his pattern of just kind of firing when you fire, and he just returns your fire, basically. But the little ember is kind of annoying underneath. So I don't know about that. He's another, like, maybe 4 or 5. A 4, to be honest, because he does one singular thing, and once you figure it out, it's very much a one-trick pony kind of situation. Iceman. This is probably like a 6. I, again, think he does too much damage, but I find this pattern to be really fun to avoid. I just wish he did less damage, because he does not need to be doing 10 damage. Otherwise, it's a fun fight. Then, of course, Gutsman. Probably, again, also like 5, maybe. Fun pattern, and, like, better than most of the other bosses in this game, because he's entirely predictable and probably easier to dodge. Like, a newcomer has an easier time understanding this pattern than most of the others, I'd say. Whenever he stomps the ground, it shakes. Like, that is relatively intuitive, I would say. So yeah, he gets the pass in my book. Please die. Yeah, maybe a 6 for him. I like that one. Alright, I'm probably gonna die, but let's see what we can showcase of the final boss. And the game is nice enough to give you another quick energy fill-up before the fight that infinitely respawns, unlike Mega Man 2, where you show up without Bubble Lead and you're completely screwed. This boss has no iframes, so you can actually bully it quite easily with Firestorm. Unfortunately, I am most likely about to die. Yeah. But, this is a simple two-phase fight. The game is nice and puts you back here, and you have the infinitely respawning energy, so you're not, like, totally boned, even if you run out of whatever. But this machine is also vulnerable to the Buster, so you'll never be totally soft-locked anyways. I just don't know how they got all these things, like, so unbelievably wrong in 2, when they did it right the first time. So this first phase is pretty boring. It just shoots shots at you like this and goes back and forth. Interestingly enough, if you go behind the cannon, it actually turns, which I always thought was cool. Like, they didn't really need to do that, but they did. I like that. I would recommend Rolling Cutter for this second phase. It pierces through, and you can do this the most easily. The only thing that the second phase does, which you might have seen when I died the first time, is that it fires these arcing, rotating shots at you, and just also moves back and forth, so not particularly entertaining, to be quite frank, but it gets the job done. Or, well, maybe it doesn't get the job done, because he's not really getting much of a chance to do anything right now. And he misses one chance. I love the pause glitch so much. I encourage anybody that has played this game that hasn't, like, exploited the absolute shit out of it to just go ham, because it's so fun. And, well, that's the end of the first Mega Man adventure. A lot of series staples laid down, good machines, refights, Wily stages. You can see the blueprint for everything else, and how it started right here, which is something I really appreciate. I guess I'll give ending thoughts, as I usually do during the credits. Those of you that have stuck with this series will know this theme. I think it's really cool that they used this as a segue into Mega Man 2 when that was released. That's, like, super cool to me. The instrumentation is a little different, but it's... the way they did the continuity is just really cool. Like, I really appreciate that they did that. And then it transitions into a totally different song. So not quite the Mega Man 2 title theme, but close enough. This is a great game. In many ways, it was very much a pioneer for games of its type. Letting you choose what stage you want at will was not really a thing before this game, so props to Mega Man for giving the player a lot of freedom. Even if I don't think some of the stages are particularly good first choices, like, good luck if you end up in Eggman stage first, really, but the fact that the game lets you choose is super cool and provides a lot of additional replay value if you want to go in a different order. Say you get better at the game and want to challenge yourself a little bit, it's entirely feasible to do a run that's maybe completely different, maybe the exact reverse of what I did, and that's a totally valid way of playing the game. The Magna Beam glitch, I think, is also really cool because it lets you go in whatever order you want, really. Like, there's no progression locked behind anything, even if they're supposed to be. And there's Dr. Light and Roll, who don't get that much lore in this game, but there they are. They were there from the very start. This is a great project. It's very unfortunate that it didn't sell well initially, and that Mega Man 2 was actually a side project worked on by the Capcom devs, which is a story that's been passed around the community a bit more nowadays. But yeah, this game really did not make as big of a splash as you might think when it was originally released. It was could have been overlooked forever, really, if the devs didn't want to make a sequel that absolutely did numbers. And I'm really glad it got that sequel, because otherwise we wouldn't have this cool-ass series. But yeah, that's Mega Man 1. Fantastic game. This is Xeno, and I'll see you guys for the next series, whatever that might be. Probably another fan game project. I owe it to several people to look at Mega Man Rock and Roll, so I'll see you guys next time for that, probably. But regardless of what comes next, I hope you all have a good one. This is Xeno, signing off. Bye-bye.